Hi everyone, welcome back to Jeff Teaches Bowling. I'm Jeff Pirashot. I'm here with Jamal Kahak. How you doing, Jamal?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So today I wanted to make a video for you guys about something I don't know very much about. I wanted to give some tips for two-handers, especially bowlers who are just starting to bowl two-handed, whether they're transitioning from one-handed or if you're just starting out bowling, or if you're a youth bowler and you want to learn how to bowl, you want to bowl two-handed. I don't know very much about it. I know next to nothing about it. I tried it once for about an hour. It was horrible for me, so I just went back to one-handed. But Jamal here, Jamal's one of the best two-handed bowlers down here in South Florida, so I thought I'd ask him for his advice. So Jamal, how long have you been bowling?
I've been bowling for about 4.5, 5 years.
5 years. And how long have you been bowling two-handed?
About 3.5.
So you started out bowling one-handed.
I did.
Okay. What was your average when you were bowling one-handed? Do you remember? It was like 4 years ago.
I want to say like a 160 something.
160 something? So what made you decide to start bowling two-handed?
One of my friends actually threw two-handed back when I was bowling high school. And we came here one day to just practice and have fun. And he let me throw one of his balls. And he was like, I'll show you the basics or whatever, or some of the things that I started learning with. And I shot 240 that first game, and I was like, I am hooked.
Wow, okay. So I asked Jamal to make a list for me of the 5 things that he wished that he knew back then when he started that he knows now. So he made me a list, and I've got them here in front of me. So some of these I kind of understand what they mean, and some I just don't. So we'll go through them one by one, and Jamal will let me know what he learned then. So the first one says accuracy is greater than power. I kind of have a feeling what you mean by that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so pretty much in bowling, you're repeating shots, consistently repeating shots. Sometimes it gets boring, I know that, but if you want to score, you got to get good at throwing consistent shots. And that's where the accuracy comes in, and not so much the power. The more power you put in, the more factors you're putting into your approach, and when that happens, you're creating some inconsistencies. Yeah. So for me, I try to focus on keeping a smooth approach to the foul line, just letting everything flow. I don't really try to put too much on it, because if I do that, then I'm probably not going to be able to repeat a shot again.
Now, from my point of view, watching two-handers bowl, it looks like no matter what you do, you're just going to get plenty of power anyway.
Exactly.
So you really don't have to try too hard to get the power. And if you did, it just kind of takes away from what your ball is naturally going to do, just kind of rolling off your hand and generating all that.
Exactly.
Okay. So what did you do to learn how to be a little more accurate?
I used to practice doing foul line drills for the most part. It allowed me to play with my target area. I was able to try different zones, different looks like down the lane to find like where I actually am more consistent in hitting. And for me, I actually found that I'm a lot more consistent hitting a foot in front of the the arrows than I am actually looking at the arrows. Because when I look a foot in front of the arrows, I'm actually able to get more and follow through a little bit better to let the ball actually get to where I want.
Okay.
Basically guiding it.
So when you started out, you were averaging one-handed 160, so 165. So now you've been bowling two-handed for 3.5 years. What's your average now?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah, I really want to know.
My high average right now, it would be on the Friday Night League.
Okay.
I'm at 240.
240, Jesus Christ. Okay. All right.
But
all right. I see it.
Right now, across like the 4 or 5 leagues, it's about like 236, 237.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. And you don't just bowl house shots in leagues. You bowl a lot of sport tournaments, I know, because I see it in the area. So when you bowl sport bowling, I'm assuming that accuracy is even more important for you in that.
Big time.
Okay.
Big time.
Do you do anything special to help control the accuracy and tame the power down a little bit when you bowl those tournaments?
I'll actually stand a little bit farther up on the approach. It'll allow me to slow my feet down a little bit more. That way I can actually focus on getting through the ball a little easier. Because if I'm running to the line, God knows where it's going.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the second thing I have written here is, I don't really know what it means, so you'll tell me. It says hand placement and finger grip. So what do you mean by that?
So pretty much, I'll put it like this. One-handed bowlers, your hand's in the same spot holding the ball no matter what. You got a thumb, your hand's locked in. Two-handed bowlers, two-finger bowlers, they're not. So you may be holding the ball a different way every time you hold the ball in the approach.
So you can put your fingers in this way, and then you can kind of twist the ball in your hand and do it that way.
Exactly. So when you do that, what you're creating is inconsistencies in your ball motion down lane, because some shots may float a little bit more than others and be a little bit more lazier in the back. Some might actually snap a little bit harder, and you're wondering, did I throw a bad shot or was it the lane? And you can never tell if you don't have the ball in their hand the same exact way every time.
Yeah. Now, I would assume that at some point when you get really good at it, you could actually intentionally twist it a little bit to intentionally change
Yes.
the reaction, because that kind of changes the layout a little bit, right?
Yes.
It changes the pin position, changes the mass bias. So you can kind of tweak it that way, but if that's not what you're intending to do, it's really important to keep your fingers and your palm solid on the ball. And you go a lot by feel, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
Because you don't have your thumb to guide it. So it has to feel like it's the same every time.
Like for me personally, I don't use finger grips, and I go to my second knuckle. So if it's off, it's off. There's no way of getting it back in place before I release the
So
ball.
it's conventional fingers.
Yes, I go conventional
Did you try fingertip fingers?
I did.
With grips or no grips?
grips.
Yeah, how did that feel to you?
A lot of blisters
A lot of blisters.
because I would just rip everything off, and for me that really wasn't the play. So
Did you try fingertip without grips?
I did not. I didn't do that at all, but some of the other people that I bowl with have no grips in, and I've tried just the fingertip, and for me, it's just too much strain on the tips of my fingers.
Okay.
So going second knuckle actually allowed me to stay more behind the ball when I released it, in a sense, and actually gave me a little more control in my eyes.
Okay. So let's see. Number 3 says learn to slide. So I kind of understand.
That's a big one right there.
Okay, let's go through that one.
When I started out two-handed, I did not slide.
Really, at all? You just planted yourself?
I planted every single shot. And about 2 months in, my knee, yeah, no.
And you felt like my knee. I'm 50.
So I might also been throwing the ball two-handed like you. Look at that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
my goal was to learn how to slide. So I got a pair of shoes, not too expensive shoes, some cheap ones that I can change some of the slide pads on if needed. And I went and practiced how to slide. The more I got comfortable with it, the better my timing got. Everything felt better. And I can tell you right now, making that switch was a huge, huge change because,
And your knee feels good too.
oh, it feels amazing.
So I'm guessing like in the beginning, it was just mental. It's like fear, like you're afraid you're going to go flying or something like
yes,
that.
like-
you just work your way out of that
Exactly.
with practice.
And like when you're planting, yes, you're getting more on it, which in the beginning of being like a two-hander or whatever, when you want to see the ball curve, you're going to get more on it when you plant because you're automatically just coming through it. Like you're ripping the cover off. But over time, I realized that's not really what I want to do or what's really necessary in most cases. So I learned to slide just to give myself a little more control, a little more feel for the game.
All right. So number 4, you wrote to me, speed is just a myth and use those legs. So I understand what using the legs is, but what do you mean by speed is just a myth?
So most two-handers, when they start out, they have that misconception that in order to create speed, they got to use all upper body. That's not the case. Speed comes from your legs. The better you are at controlling your foundation on your approach, the better you're going to be in creating speed and consistency in your actual release. The more you use your upper body, the more variables, like I said in point 1, the more variables you're going to be creating in your approach, and it's going to be harder to replicate. At least with your legs, you know when you're going fast and when you're not going fast. Creating a stronger foundation is going to help you out a lot more in the future.
Okay, so what have you done to try to work on that, and how do you keep track of that? Like, do you feel sometimes while you're bowling that, oh, maybe I'm upper bodying it too much or something like that?
There are times where I can tell my feet get fast, and when my feet get fast, 9 times out of 10, I'll probably tug it a few boards, and that's telling me my upper body was doing too much trying to catch up to my feet. So what I do is I make sure I take smaller steps in my approach and slow everything down. That way I can actually picture it when I'm in my approach. I'll go 1, 2. When I push off, it allows me to actually get my timing back in place.
Now, some two-handers, they do the little hop step thing at the end, and some don't.
I used to do a hop step, but that was when I planted.
Okay.
And then when I started to slide, my goal was to try and replicate Kyle Troop as best as I can. Because Kyle actually,
Kyle has steps like a one-hander.
Exactly, and everything's more in time. There are two-handers that do the hop step.
Belmo.
Yes. For me personally, it didn't. It worked for the beginning. That's when I was trying to get started into it, learning how to throw the ball and all that. But over time, when I actually wanted to improve my game and be a little more consistent, I took that out as best I could, and it allowed me to be a little more consistent.
How long did that take for you to get from one to the other?
Probably about like half a year or so, maybe a year.
Okay. So, it takes work, guys. It takes some work. So the last one I have here says big wheeling is not always the right play. I kind of understand what that means, but go ahead.
So like I said from the beginning, most two-handers when they start out, they want to see their ball wheel. Stand left, throw right, watch it come back and strike. Most situations in tournaments, on a house shot during league, whatever it is, that might not always be the right play. And when I say that, I mean, yes, you may strike more than once, but in the long run, you might be leaving a lot more corner pins. You might be splitting a lot more. But because you want to see the ball wheel a little bit more, hook a little bit more down lane, you're going to be standing a little bit farther left to try and get it to do what you want. Sometimes it's better just to play a little bit farther, play a little bit right, play a little straighter, and then as the lanes break down, then you can migrate left. Or if you're a lefty, migrate back to the right.
Like Anthony Simonson's really good at that. Like he plays right a lot as a two-hander, like almost all the time. But when he moves in, he can get on it and wheel it a bunch.
Exactly.
And a lot of two-handers, they'll do that and they'll switch to maybe a urethane ball so they can play straighter or something like, I know you like your Envy Tour a lot, something smooth and direct.
I like my tour balls. They've been a huge part of my bag for the past few years. And
Envy Tour, Effect Tour.
Envy Tour, Effect Tour, Obsession Tour. Obsession Tour was really, really good for me. And now we have the Effect Tour, and
because it allows you to keep things in front of you more. Exactly. It's more predictable. You don't often need the power that a go long and a flip hard ball will generate in the back end because you can do that yourself.
Exactly.
So you need the control more, and then you'll make up for that with some power of your own just for being two-handed.
Exactly. So recently, what I actually realized, which I didn't know at the time, was my bag actually consists of more solids in my bags right now than it has ever in the past. Normally, when I first started out, it was more shiny stuff. Makes sense. I want to see the ball wheel, so I get something clean that's going to get down lane and flip harder. And then it went to all hybrids.
Okay.
Widow hybrid, Troublemaker, GB4 hybrid, stuff like that I was able to get a little clean shape, but still get that mid lane roll.
The better you got, the more you sensed you needed a little smoother reaction.
Exactly.
So you kind of worked your way.
Exactly. So now my bag is my Heckler, my Mesmerize, which honestly I didn't think I'd actually like as much as I do, because I thought it'd be way too much ball. But for me, it actually matched up to what I was missing with my Extreme Envy. When I got rid of my Extreme Envy, I had a hole in my bag that I was trying to fill for a while, and that ball really filled it really well. So my Mesmerize, my Heckler, my Effect Tour, my Hazmat Solid, and then I have my Effect in there, and then a spare ball. So I don't really have a lot of shiny stuff, because for me, my speed has gone up a little bit more in the past, so I was able to play a little bit straighter, and for me, when I play straighter, I need something more controllable.
Okay, so that's the top 5 things. That's the list that Jamal gave me. I have a bonus 6th thing that I haven't told you about. Something that I've noticed about you over the last couple of years. So the 6th thing is measure your PAP and measure it often. This man's PAP, his positive access point, changes like every month. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but he measures it a lot and it changes a lot, and he has to change his layouts a lot. Now, explain like a little bit about that, why that happens.
So my ball roll for like the past year or so has been, year and a half or so, has been very forward.
What's your PAP, by the way?
My PAP now is 3 3/4 over and 3 inches up.
Okay, that's a lot of up. A lot of two-handers are down, right?
Most two-handers are 5 across and 1 down. So being on the complete opposite of the spectrum is sometimes it's a little bit weird in a sense, because people always ask me, why is your pin where it's at? And I always tell them, because my tilt has gone up big time, so in a sense, the pin has to go the opposite direction.
Yeah, a lot of your pins are above your middle finger, left of your middle finger.
Exactly. Most two-handers, they're nowhere near the middle finger. They're nowhere near the bridge.
Yeah.
Most two-handers, they're all the way
out to the right.
Exactly. So having that extra dynamic to my game has helped me a lot on patterns and even on house shot. Keeping it in front of me, being up the back. With my tilt being a little bit higher now, I'm able to actually get more on it on the side and have it actually flow a little bit longer and flip a little bit harder.
How often do you remeasure your PAP? Because I know you do that a lot. You change it a lot.
Honestly, when I check it when I feel like the balls aren't reacting to their full potential. Like when I'm throwing a ball and I feel like I'm throwing it
sense
good,
something's off.
that's what made me check it the last time. Was everything I had in my bag was going 50 feet or so, and then deciding to, all right, now we're going to turn, but when they turned, it really wasn't a lot of oomph. So I went and measured my PAP and found out my PAP changed a good bit. Before this one, it used to be 3 1/4 over, 1 up.
Oh, wow. So it went from 1 up to 3 up, and from 3 1/4 to 3
To
in.
3/4. Yep.
Wow, it's a lot. So it's a good tip for you guys. As you get better and you learn more and you get better at two-hander, you're going to notice that your PAP is going to change a lot. It happens to one-handers also. So when you feel like things are off, or maybe your balls aren't reacting the way you think they should, maybe it's your PAP. It's not. Maybe it's not the ball. Man, the ball's fine. I mean, the ball was reacting great yesterday, and today it's not. Or I mean, it was good 2 weeks ago. Or over time, it just got maybe a little worse. Maybe you're just doing something different. So it's a good time to remeasure that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you,
I appreciate
Jamal.
you guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it for this video. We will see you guys next time. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And hey, if you like this video, leave me a comment below. And if you got any questions for Jamal, I'll let him know, and maybe we'll get some answers for you. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.